Have you ever found something that wasn't yours? Maybe a wallet, maybe a phone, or maybe just an umbrella. Most people would leave it there. Jake didn't. On one rainy afternoon, he picked up a black umbrella from an empty bench. There was no owner's name, no phone number, only 3 mysterious words: "Return to me." Jake thought he had found a lost umbrella. He was wrong, because from that moment, strangers knew his name. Mysterious phone calls began, and one simple act of kindness would change his life forever. So, grab your headphones, relax, and let's begin today's English story. This is A Rainy Day. Rain was falling. Not a little rain, not normal rain. This was the kind of rain that made people run without looking. Cars splashed water onto the street. People hid under bus stops. The city looked gray, except for one bright yellow umbrella. Jake Wilson stood outside a small coffee shop. He looked at the sky and sighed. "I knew I should have checked the weather." The narrator laughed. Jake says this every time it rains. And somehow, he still forgets his umbrella. Jake looked into his backpack. A notebook, a sandwich, a phone charger, 3 pens, 1 sock. Why is there only 1 sock? Even Jake didn't know. He closed the bag. "I guess I'm walking." The rain became heavier. Jake took 1 step, then another. Splash! A car drove past. Water covered Jake from head to toe. The narrator whispered, "Congratulations." Now he doesn't need a shower. Jake looked down. "My day is getting better already." A little girl nearby giggled. Jake smiled. At least someone was happy. Then, he noticed something strange. On a wooden bench sat a large black umbrella. No one was holding it. No one was standing nearby. It looked new, very new. Jake looked left. Nobody. He looked right. Nobody. He waited. 30 seconds. 1 minute. Still, no one came back. He slowly picked it up. There was no name, no phone number, only a small silver tag hanging from the handle. 3 words were engraved on it. "Return to me." Jake frowned. "That's unusual." The narrator agreed. Most umbrellas say nothing. This one sounds very confident. Jake pressed the button. Whoosh! The umbrella opened perfectly. Inside, something caught his eye. Written neatly on the inside fabric was a single sentence. "Someone is waiting because of you." Jake blinked. "What?" He looked again. The words were still there. This has to be a joke. Just then, his phone rang. Unknown number. Jake hesitated. Should he answer? The rain grew louder. The phone kept ringing, and somewhere across the street, someone wearing a long gray coat was quietly watching him. Jake looked at his phone. "Ring, ring, ring," the narrator whispered. "If this is a telemarketer, I'm going to be very disappointed," Jake answered. "Hello?" Only rain, no voice. Then an old woman finally spoke. "If you found the umbrella, please don't lose it." Click! The call ended. Jake stared at the phone. "That's it?" The narrator laughed. "Shortest mystery ever." Jake looked around. The person in the gray coat was gone. A voice behind him said, "I was wondering when someone would answer." Jake turned around. An old man with a white beard smiled kindly. "You answered the phone." Jake blinked. "How do you know?" The old man chuckled. "Because the umbrella chose you." Jake laughed nervously. "Umbrellas don't choose people." "Most don't." "You are serious?" "I've seen that umbrella before." It belonged to someone who always helped strangers. Jake looked at the umbrella. "It looks brand new." "It never seems to grow old." Jake wanted to ask more. Suddenly, the old man looked across the street. There he is again. Jake slowly turned. The man in the gray coat had returned, watching, silent, still. The stranger slowly raised one hand. He pointed, not at Jake, but at the umbrella. "What does he want?" The old man answered, "He wants what you're holding." Jake tightened his grip. "Who is he?" "I don't know his name. But I know one thing. He has been looking for that umbrella for many years." The stranger slowly walked toward Jake. The old man spoke quickly. "If he asks for the umbrella, don't give it to him." "But why?" "Because once you open it, it remembers you." Before Jake could ask another question, a city bus stopped between them. People got on, people got off. The bus drove away. The old man had disappeared. Jake looked around. "Where did he go?" The narrator sighed. People disappear very easily in mystery stories. The stranger stopped only a few steps away. He smiled. "It finally found you." Jake stood frozen. The man spoke calmly. "My name is Daniel. I've been looking for this umbrella for 7 years. Please, open it one more time." Jake remembered the warning. He shook his head. "No." Daniel sighed. "I was afraid you'd say that." Then he simply turned around and walked away. Jake looked confused. "That's it?" The narrator laughed. "Very polite villain." Jake's phone buzzed. A new message. "Look inside the handle." Jake carefully examined the umbrella. He noticed a tiny silver button. Click! A hidden compartment opened. Inside was a tiny brass key. And a folded paper. Jake unfolded it. It contained 10 names. 9 names had blue check marks. Only one did not. Jake Wilson. He turned the paper over. The umbrella always finds the next guardian. What am I supposed to guard? Before he could think further, a little boy ran toward him crying, "Please! I can't find my mom." Jake immediately knelt down. "Don't worry. We'll find her." They searched together. After several minutes, a woman shouted, "Oliver!" The little boy ran into her arms. She cried with relief. "Thank you." Jake smiled. "I'm glad he's safe." When they left, Jake looked back at the list. A fresh blue checkmark had appeared beside his own name. "I didn't do that," the narrator whispered. "No, you didn't. The umbrella did." An old woman stood nearby. She smiled. "It has accepted you." "What have I become?" "The next guardian." Lightning flashed. Behind the old woman, 3 people wearing gray coats stood silently. Rain continued to fall. The old woman introduced herself. "My name is Margaret." Jake asked, "What is this umbrella?" "It isn't magic. It reminds people to choose kindness." She explained that guardians were ordinary people. They helped strangers. They listened to lonely people. They stayed with people who had lost hope. The umbrella doesn't choose perfect people. It chooses people who keep trying. Jake smiled. "I'm definitely not perfect." Neither were the guardians. Just then, Jake received another message. "Don't trust Margaret, she lied." Before he could react, a black car stopped nearby. Daniel stepped out. The 3 gray-coated people stood behind him. Daniel looked at Margaret. "You've told him enough." Jake stepped forward. "What's going on?" Daniel looked at him. "I never wanted the umbrella. I wanted to protect you." Then he said, "Ask Margaret what happened to the 9th guardian." Margaret became silent. Jake finally asked, "Who was the 9th guardian?" Daniel answered, "My father. His name was Thomas. He disappeared one rainy evening." Margaret quietly said, "I believed he had finished his journey." Daniel shook his head. "You hoped people would stop searching." Jake felt confused. "So who is telling the truth?" Margaret replied, "Both of us." Daniel took an old photograph from his coat. 10 people stood together. Each held the same black umbrella. Jake looked closely. One young man looked exactly like him. "Who is he?" "My father." "But why does he look like me?" Daniel smiled sadly. Because Thomas was your grandfather's younger brother. Jake stared in disbelief. So, we're family? Daniel nodded. We've been searching for each other for years. At that moment, a little girl ran into the street after a red balloon. A truck rushed toward her. Jake didn't think. He ran. He grabbed the little girl just before the truck passed. The balloon floated into the sky. Her mother hugged her tightly. Thank you, Jake smiled. I'm just glad she's safe. Margaret looked at the umbrella. It was completely dry. Not a single drop of rain remained. The hidden compartment slowly opened by itself. Inside was one final letter. For Jake. Alone. Jake carefully unfolded it. Dear Jake, if you are reading this, the rain has finally brought us together. My name is Thomas. I was the 9th guardian. People believed I disappeared. They were wrong. I simply learned the greatest truth. The umbrella never created kindness. It only reminded people that kindness already lived inside them. I waited for someone who would help others without expecting a reward. That person is you. When you helped Oliver, no one asked you to. When you saved the little girl, you didn't stop to think. You simply acted. That is why the journey ends with you. You are not the next guardian. You are the last one. Because kindness no longer needs to be guarded. It only needs to be shared. Please leave the umbrella where another story can begin. Thank you for believing in people. Thomas. Jake slowly lowered the letter. He smiled. So, that's it? No treasure? Daniel laughed. No hidden tunnel? Jake smiled. I was hoping for at least one laser. The narrator laughed. Me too. Jake looked around. People were already helping one another in the rain. An old couple shared one umbrella. A young man helped an elderly woman cross the street. A child picked up groceries that someone had dropped. Jake smiled. They never needed this umbrella. Margaret nodded. They never did. Jake quietly walked back to the wooden bench where he had first found it. He gently placed the umbrella there. Then he walked away with Margaret and Daniel. A few minutes later, the rain became heavier again. A young woman hurried toward the bus stop. She noticed the black umbrella. She looked around. No one was there. She picked it up. A small smile appeared on her face. The narrator whispered, and just like that, another rainy day became a little brighter. The rain continued to fall, but somehow, it no longer felt cold. If you enjoyed today's story, I hope it made your English a little better and your day a little brighter. Tell me in the comments, what would you do if you found the mysterious umbrella? Would you keep it? Or leave it where it was? If you like easy English stories with mystery, adventure, and meaningful life lessons, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Every week, we'll explore a brand new story together while improving your English listening skills. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, keep learning, keep smiling, and remember, even the smallest act of kindness can change someone's life.